Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's Fiber Broadband Association webinar. My name is David Norris. I'm the webinar producer here at FBA. And today's webinar is how field service management delivers real-time insights and improves fiber installations. And this is being brought to us today by Praxedo. Before we begin, I just have a couple of quick housekeeping items. And first, all attendees are in listen-only mode today. However, if you do have any questions, we encourage you to ask them. You can do so by using the questions tool, which is located in the upper right-hand corner. It's the quote box with the question mark in it. So please do add your questions. Also, this will be available on demand. That'll be available through the FBA website. You'll receive a link to that in the follow-up email, but you can also find it under the events tab on the FBA website. And that's usually up there within 24 hours. Finally, we have a brief feedback survey at the end of today's presentation. If you wouldn't mind taking a moment to fill out that survey, the results really do help us out and help us bring you more webinars that are valuable for you. And with that, we will jump right in here. So today we're joined by Cedric Bernard, who is the General Manager for North America of Praxedo. And joining him, we have Claire Kelly, a Solutions Consultant at Praxedo. And they have included a guest here, John Green, who is the CEO and co-founder of Mitra Consulting. And so we welcome all three of you. And with that, I will go ahead and hand things over to Cedric to get us started. Cedric?
Yeah, thank you, David. Hello, everyone. Happy to lead today's webinar. David, maybe if we can go to the slide about the Praxedo presentation. Perfect. Just wanted to share a couple of words about Praxedo. We are a SaaS solution for field service management. We're veterans in this space, having been doing this for almost 20 years. Field service management is our sole focus. At the heart of this is our telecommunication customers, especially the fiber deployment and customer installations, and globally network maintenance in general. The typical customer for Praxedo is an ISP with anywhere from 15K to 100K subscribers, and contractors that are working for them, installing and maintaining fiber network. We are focusing our product effort around increasing the productivity and the efficiency for field service technicians, which in turn increases customer satisfaction, which I think is the key topic of today's webinar. How can we address the blind spots of fiber installation to make sure that you deliver a best-in-class customer experience? John, maybe you want to share a couple of words of introduction regarding Mitra now?
Sure, thanks, Cedric. So one quick correction: I'm actually a co-owner of Mitra Consulting, but not the co-founder. So those of you that are thinking, "Hey, wait a minute, I thought he ran an ISP," and if you look at this, Mitra was actually founded in 2012. But Mitra is a small, I refer to it as a boutique consulting firm. We're not massive in size, but we specialize in telecommunications, ISPs, electrical co-ops and utilities, and technology-enabled firms like Praxedo, and different things like leadership development, building business growth strategies, succession planning, helping to evangelize products in the case of some of the technology-enabled firms. We've got a relatively large group of consultants, and the majority are either retired CEOs or executives from within the industry. So we've got folks that used to run ISPs, rural electric co-ops, people that were high up within certain technology firms. So we feel like we offer a pretty good base, no matter what business you're in the internet broadband business. We've got somebody that can probably address that with some level of expertise. So I'm here today, those of you that remember Monday Night Football, to add color commentary. So I'm the color commentary guy. I'm going to leave all the details and the expertise to Cedric and to Claire. So with that, I'm going to hand back to you, Cedric.
Thank you, John, and I think you're being too modest. Your extensive experience will be very helpful with today's webinar. David, I think we skipped the poll question. Is it possible to get that on?
Yep, sorry about that, jumping ahead, but we do have the poll question up now. What are the biggest challenges you face in fiber installation? And you're able to select more than one here, so select your top two challenges that you're facing. Got results coming in now. We'll give it another 15 seconds or so. All right, get your answers in, and we're going to close the poll and we'll show the results. So the results are now up, Cedric.
No, so what I found very interesting is that we suggested those challenges. It seems that the responses are quite evenly spread with three main challenges: self-service options and visibility and real-time tracking of installation. Slightly behind, we have the quality control of installation, and the customer feedback and satisfaction is lagging more behind, but we did not miss anything since nobody chose other. So it's very interesting. I guess it means that the audience will be very engaged with today's content, because that's exactly what we'll be talking during this webinar, tackling those main challenge that we've listed in the poll. So interesting to see that everybody shares those concerns. John, is there anything you would like to add to this?
No, I think you've hit most everything. You know, the quality control and the customer feedback and satisfaction obviously are joined at the hip. If you've got good, high quality installations, you're probably going to get good feedback and high satisfaction rates. So other than that, it's nothing here that's unexpected.
Yeah, and I think that's the key theme today, is that all of those are interconnected, and as a result, you need to also consider the solution as an interconnection of multiple solutions. So that's maybe a good transition to this presentation, where we will start by trying to lay down the challenges. And the first one that we wanted to discuss with you today is, every time we speak with an ISP or a contractor involved in the installation process, the first question they ask us, the first concern they share with us, is that they're all trying to improve their time to install and their first time right KPI, but are most of the time struggling because of the complexity of the process itself. And I was interested, John, maybe if you could share your experience, your feedbacks, and then we can elaborate on that based on your experience as a CEO of an ISP. What exactly makes the installation process complex? And what kind of example can you share with the audience today?
Yeah, certainly, Cedric. So, running a small ISP is no different than running a big ISP in a lot of respects, other than the size. And, one of the issues that you have when you're dealing with customer installs is the number of hands that have to touch that service order from cradle to grave. So, you've got the whole sales force that goes out, talks to the customers, finds out what they need, gets them signed up, gets the contract signed. But from that point, it can go a couple of different ways. You've got some companies that exclusively rely on outsourced installations. So, you may have a completely separate company from your mainline construction company that does the drop installations, or it may be done completely internally, or it may be some hybrid of both. In other words, maybe an outside company places the drop, aerial or buried, but the in-house folks do the actual installation of the equipment and may do the fiber splicing. So the problem there is you could have multiple parties that are touching this customer. And unless all of these parties are in sync and they have some type of a tracking mechanism to where they can keep up with exactly what's going on, you're going to have things that are kind of lost in the mix. In the case of some of these ISPs, it may be months between the actual time when the customer signs a contract and when those installs are completed, not because of external things like locates or weather related or equipment shortages, but just simply because of the coordination between all of these disparate parties. So that's where I see a lot of benefit for Praxedo, because even if you're just a contractor doing the install part of it, maybe just burying the drop, it's still going to allow you to seamlessly be able to keep up with the process and where you are. Hey, I've got 15 installs in hand. What's the time frame for getting them done? Where are we at in that process? So that's why this product really intrigued me, because this was an area that I felt like most small companies, and quite frankly big companies as well, have a real lack. The other thing, Cedric, really quick, is that a lot of companies have got systems in place, and I'll just name a few. The Elation from Innovative, NISC, and Mac. Those are three of the predominant systems that are used by small companies, and they will have tracking devices built in for their installers. But a lot of times, A, these are expensive, B, they're clunky, and C, they don't focus on the fiber install as the primary goal. It's an add-on product. So at that point, I'm going to hand off to you, Cedric, and let you get a little bit more into the details.
Yeah, thank you, John. So I think you nailed it. The complexity of the installation process comes from the number of people that are involved. So there are multiple profiles that need, like you said, that need to touch that service order. And there's also a complexity that comes from the fact that the process itself is a stepped process. You have the customer calling in to book an appointment, but then you have to figure out, okay, can I actually install that customer? Do I need a drop installation first? So you need to do this assessment, and then you need to make sure you have the equipment in your inventory to make sure you can perform the installation on time, and then you need to provision that equipment into the network. So all those steps of that process, they also have their own process embedded, and the key from a software perspective is to make sure that you have a centralized place where all that information lives from a field operation perspective, so that when someone, a CSR or the customer themselves, is calling in and asking, where are you in the process of installing my house, you have a clear answer. I think it's fine sometimes to say, well, it's going to be only next week. Not everybody can be installed in one day, even though most of the ISPs we're speaking with are aiming at that. I think it's fine to say it's going to be next week, as long as you can say that with confidence. The worst answer you can give is, well, I don't know. Let me check. That's not good, especially because it doesn't meet the customer's expectations, and we know that in these new world of conception, the customer expectations are very high, and maybe this is the opportunity to transition to the next slide, because this installation phase is a very critical moment in the relationship between any provider and their customer, since it's actually the first time the provider will interact directly with the customer. During the construction phase, you have to communicate, obviously, but everything is happening on the street or on the highway, kind of far from the heart of the house of the customer. But when you're installing, we're talking about accessing the customer's property, getting into their homes. And it's so important that I've seen contractors advertising this on their website, saying, hey, we understand that it's a challenge. So And one of the challenges that John, you and I discussed while preparing from the webinar is, as the slide illustrates with this figure, is in most cases the customer won't even tell you what they expect. They will simply not share that beforehand. So I was curious to see if you had a story to share from your experience, illustrating that fact that you can't rely on the customer to tell you exactly what they expect. You need to figure that out by yourself, and you need obviously then an operational process that support this.
So one of the things that Cedric and I discussed the other day was the Amazon experience. Everybody's familiar with Amazon Prime. Customers, if you tell them something, they expect you to follow through with it. So when Amazon says, "Hey, your package will be delivered on Tuesday," and it's delivered on Tuesday, okay, you're happy, business as usual. But what happens if it doesn't show up until Wednesday and you don't receive any notification? Same thing happens with installs. There's nothing worse than a customer saying, "I will be available afternoon on Friday to do an install." And you schedule that install, and for whatever reason, the installer doesn't show up, or they get there and they're not able to complete the job because something upstream hasn't been done correctly. Maybe the splicing wasn't completed, or they've got the wrong assignment for the fiber, or the electronics are not available. Now this customer's taken a half a day of vacation to meet you out there so you can do that install, and you're not able to complete the process. That's extremely frustrating. And in a business that is highly competitive, yes, in some of the rural areas we don't have competition, but more and more we're all going to have to deal with competition in our backyards. And customers remember these things. Again, like Cedric said, they may not complain, but once their contract with you is up, they're going to remember that, and they're going to say, "Well, they screwed up my installation, and this is not right, and that's not right." And they may turn around and say, "I'm going with another provider simply because I haven't been satisfied." So making sure that the customer experience is a good one right out of the gate is absolutely paramount in making sure that you keep those customers long term. And this whole installation process is kind of the first touch point where the customer actually sees, how well you can do what you're supposed to be doing.
And I think the key word in what you're saying, John, is I mean, I like the keyword convenience. I think what Uber and Amazon have done is they've brought at scale that sense of convenience. I mean, Uber did not invent, rideshare or going from one point A to point B, but they invented a brand new experience that's so convenient that everybody wants to have it. Nobody wants to deal with the old way of doing things anymore. So again, not every Uber or Amazon can apply to fiber installation, obviously, but I think the responsibility of a provider is to look forward and say, okay, how can I make my installation experience as convenient as possible? We've seen in the poll that one of the challenges is self-service option. Well, that's obviously something that the modern consumer wants. Like you said, John, you gave the example of someone who booked an appointment and if the installer doesn't show up, they've wasted half a day. But there's another component to that is I don't want to be told you have to be at your home this day between 9 a.m. and 12 p.m. I want to be able to, I mean, I want the provider to adjust to my schedule. I don't want my schedule to get adjusted to my providers. And that's very important. And we'll see later in this presentation that comes with a lot of other challenges. Again, what makes the installation process a challenge is that its multiple components are all interconnected. So the solution as well needs to be made of modules that are interconnected, and the appointment booking is one of those modules. I think we can maybe transition to the next slide, where what I'd like to discuss is the operational efficiency that you need to bring to the table, because it's one thing to say we want a top-notch customer experience, we want self-service options, so we need the schedule of our installers to adjust to the schedules of our customers, but that comes with cost if it's not managed in an efficient way. I think another challenge, another context of the customer installation is that it's a point in the life of an ISP that is kind of critical, where the mindset is switching from, okay, we're investing a lot of money into building the network, but now we are talking about return on investment. We are transitioning from a KPI of home passed to a KPI of take rate and active subscribers, and so. I don't know, John. I'm not an expert in funding, so I'm turning to you for this. But how does this transition relate to all that we know about funding? Is there any incentive from the state funding to actually report on the customer installations as well as the network construction itself? What can you share with the audience regarding this?
So yeah, there, depending on what the funding mechanism is, there's
I
definitely
think there's a problem with your
some
mic.
grant. Whoop, can you hear me okay? Okay. Yeah, there's definitely some of the grant programs require you to report on how many customers you've installed once you've built the main line. They even go so far as to say, hey, once it's built, a lot of the federal programs, hey, you have to do testing afterwards to prove that you're providing the service level that you say you're going to be providing. But there's kind of a little bit of a shift, if you will, in the mindset behind fiber builds, and that is, at one time it was everybody was looking at homes passed. We have 10,000 homes passed, but homes passed don't feed the bulldog. They don't bring in revenue. Homes connected is now where people are shifting their focus to. And in order to get more homes connected, you've got to increase that operational efficiency. So a lot of the grant programs don't care if you get a 20% take rate or an 80% take rate. They just want you to show that we're hooking people up. But if you're going to start recovering your capital expenditures based on revenue, you have got to get those homes hooked up as quickly and efficiently as possible. So you don't want technicians passing each other in the field, going from one location to another. You don't want bottlenecks to where sales has got 150 customers signed up, but it's going to be 2 or 3 months before you can start doing the install process, because customers then get frustrated and that customer experience is going downhill. And you don't want to end up spending days doing an install. You want to be able to get in there quick, get the right people focused on it, and quite frankly, knock them off just like dominoes. So I think the operational efficiency is going to become more and more important as people realize that that's the way that you're going to put money in the bank. That's the way you're going to get your revenue stream flowing on that capital investment. Fiber builds are great, but they don't do a tinker's dam if they sit there with nobody hooked up. So that's the bottom line.
Yes, and what comes with the convenience experience that we discussed earlier is also that it's making it harder for you to predict with accuracy the workload that you're going to have to absorb, which means that you need to organize yourself and your resources, whether you're doing this in-house or whether you're outsourcing the process. You're going to need to be both flexible enough to absorb a temporary surge in workload, and that includes onboarding quickly new resources, internal or external. But you also have to be efficient enough to maintain the same level of quality and the kind of streamlined experience that your customers are looking for, regardless of the current workload and where you stand. So that's another challenge, I guess.
And one other thing too, Cedric, that you said earlier, we have to be more cognizant of the needs of the customer. You can't tell a customer that, oh, well, you missed the initial installation process. It's 6 months later, so now it'll be a week from next Thursday before we'll have somebody in your area that can do that install. That's the worst thing in the world that can happen, because the instantly you've told that customer, we really don't care about your business. We'll get around to it when we can. And that leads to a lot of issues down the road.
Exactly, and perfect transition. That is why you need FSM. We can transition over to the next slide. I think we've explained the challenges. We explained that there are challenges in terms of customer expectations. There are challenges in terms of operational efficiency to meet that expectations. And so there's a responsibility for the leaders from the ISPs, but also from their contractors to build a vision, because maybe you're not there yet, but it's gonna come fast. And you need a strategy to be able to scale your installation process that is big, and you need to prepare ahead of time, because it's very different from building the network. There are multiple parts of that strategy, and I'm sure a consulting firm like Metra can help you build that strategy, but definitely FSM should be a key component, as it will help you address those challenges that impact directly the customer experience, the lack of real-time tracking into the installation progress, the inefficient processes overall, and the difficulty assessing the quality until the job is complete. John kind of touched on that at the beginning. There are multiple ways to address your FSM problem. You can rely on an existing provider that claims they have an embedded FSM module. The problem is that when you have an all-in-one solution, it's hard to be excellent at everything. And that's the difference with the approach that Praxedo takes. I could spend hours talking about what we don't do for an ISP or a contractor in the telecom industry, because there are so many things we don't do. We are not a CRM, we are not a billing platform, we are not but because we are focusing exclusively on the FSM, we are excellent at it. And that's what we call the best of breed approach, where you know that you have a blind spot somewhere, and you will choose a solution that completely fills the gap that you find on those blind spots. And that's what Praxedo does. We are providing the perfect solution to support that mid-long-term strategy when it comes to customer installation, but also network maintenance. Because as we said, the challenges are interconnected, and the solution should bring interconnected responses too. And that's what we've tried to explain here. Praxedo can provide a best-in-class appointment booking process connected to a route optimization engine, because if you just throw appointments to your field technician and you only incrementally add new appointments to the existing schedule, you're going to end up with a very poor schedule in the end. So you need a route optimization engine to reshuffle everything and make sure you get something that is efficient and still account for your customer constraints. All of that should work real time, connected to your people in the field, whether they are internal or external, but also with the end customers. You should be able to provide notification on the flow. And that is supported by configurable workflows that are embedded into the application, including the mobile application that the technicians are using while they are facing the customer, because again, this is a critical moment. John, any comment on that you'd like to share with us?
Well, I think let's go back to what I talked about earlier. You could have multiple audiences that can use this product. It could be an ISP that does a cradle to grave installation process within their own staff. It could be a contractor that specializes in doing drop installations for, specific contract or for specific ISPs, or it could be a hybrid. The bottom line is Praxedo is a very affordable standalone product that doesn't have to be part of a bigger ecosystem. So it doesn't have to integrate into your billing system or integrate into your sales and marketing system. It's strictly a field service management product. And as such, it is, like you said, best in class, best in breed. It does it very well. It does it very affordable. So regardless of the size of your company, from a very small company to a very large company, it's going to provide exactly what you need when it comes to making sure that your fiber installations are being efficient and their customers are experiencing the best that they can possibly experience. So, again, I think the next slide kind of goes into a little bit more detail of how the product works. But again, this is not an add-on that okay, we've got to have APIs and links from your billing system and from your customer care system and your order taking system and so on and so forth. So I think that's one of the important things that I think makes Praxedo a very viable alternative for field service management.
Yeah, thank you, John. And indeed, if we can transition to the next slide, just wanted to say a quick word about what Praxedo supports is what we call the compliance by design. It means that you want your processes and the operational solution that's supporting these processes to meet the requirement that you have defined, but you want it to be flexible enough to adjust on the go. And with Praxedo, you'll be able to connect all the stakeholders of the installation process, the customer, the back office, the technician, and you will streamline the underlying processes, optimizing the efficiency at each stage, and enabling real-time communication. As you can see here, at each step of the process, Praxedo can trigger notification, email, text messages to keep everybody updated. And each of the box is, it's a simplified process, obviously, but it's something that we support out of the box. Thanks to Praxedo, you will get access to a single pane of glass for your fiber installation. We can, with Praxedo, when it's in place, and what our customers share with us is that it enables them to enter a continuous loop of improvement that helps them fine-tune and adjust their processes in near real time. This is why I believe it's very important when you look at the FSM solution to consider depth of functionalities and their relevance for the telecommunication industry, because there are specificities to the processes in telecom. That's obvious, but also the configurability of the software based on readily available feature. Because to the point we were making earlier, you don't want, if something has to change in your process, you don't want to wait 6 months for your provider to make the adjustment because you're locked in a solution that is too rigid to adjust in real time. You want to be able, in full autonomy, to configure the process to match your need. And the last time, and that comes with it, you need to check the expertise of the team that you will be working with. For instance, at Praxedo, we are not handing over the implementation to a third-party consulting firm. We have resources like Claire who are here to help our customers make the most of the solution. And I think it's a good time to hand over the mic to Claire, who will be now presenting the key features of the solution that we've discussed today, and that can support this best-in-class customer experience, all while maintaining the operational efficiency of an ISP or a contractor performing that installation. To you, Claire. Thanks.
Great, thank you. David, you can go ahead and start that demo video, but Like Cedric mentioned, I'd just like to highlight and exemplify how this solution can focus on those key points you're having. So obviously it's important to match that customer expectation. And while there's a lot of complexities behind the scenes with the installations, we need a tool that's going to be able to manage it. I'll go ahead and make sure that it's okay. Let's see. Perfect. And so, like I said, there's a lot of behind the scene complexities, but as a customer facing business, you want to make sure that you're managing those matching those expectations. So that's starting off with the appointment booking. We need to ensure that these appointments are optimized. So through Praxedo, as a CSR on the phone with a customer, I can view optimized slots. So these options are based on skill requirements, areas of the technicians, travel time and availability, and it'll rank the efficiency of that scheduling, which is represented by those stars there. So not only is this going to minimize travel time for your technicians, which means happier employees, but it's also going to ensure a higher likelihood of on-time arrival, which of course is higher customer satisfaction. So those customers are going to get booking confirmations, which include links to a portal. So they have the ability to consult their appointment. Let's say it's a few days later, our customer Jamie here actually needs to reschedule his own appointment. He can do that here, and these appointments presented are accounting for all the same scheduling data and criteria as if a CSR was booking it directly within Praxedo. But this portal can be automatically sent to customers firsthand to allow them to book their own appointments, or in this case, for example, to reschedule one that they spoke with the CSR. Things like this happen all the time, such as customers rescheduling, and the scheduling team has to be able to easily handle that. As changes occur and appointments pile up, your schedules become less optimal. So using Praxedo's Smart Scheduler, you can automatically re-optimize these routes to accommodate those changes. And this includes a variety of different parameters, so the ability to prioritize your work order types. So for example, if you have emergency work, if you give that a higher priority level, the route optimization tool will automatically account for that. So any emergencies that pop up, one doesn't have to manually discern for that information. The Smart Scheduler will automatically do that for you. It also can account for execution speeds, so how quickly your technicians are working. Obviously, a tech who's been in the industry for 20 years is going to work a lot quicker than a more novice technician. And so the route optimization tool will allocate time per job according to their speed or how quickly they're working through those jobs, which will more accurately allocate the number of jobs they can do within a day. It also can account for the working hours of your technicians and the schedule set. In addition, any overtime allotments or travel time. So for example, if you have specific time that you need to dedicate to working or specific time after hours that you need to dedicate to travel, you can account for that information. So for example, maybe you want them to work up till 5 and then the travel home to occur outside of that working hour. You can include that information. And finally, you can also include areas or geographical bounds for your technicians. So you can create zip code groupings and assign a tech to that area so they'll only receive jobs within that region. So in this way, you can further bound your technicians and minimize any additional travel time for those techs. You also notice if I click into this homepage here that certain work orders are locked. So that can be done manually if you want to keep a certain job to a certain tech at a time. But it can also be done automatically if they're already traveling or working on that job. And the Smart Scheduler is going to build a route from that job moving forward rather than removing it. So this Smart Scheduler can actually be run in advance. It can be run on the current day. It could even be set up on a recurring frequency, such as the night before, to optimize for tomorrow. Or it can be run continuously based on how the team is performing and reroute automatically throughout the day. But with all these new parameters and the ability to reoptimize, it means you can more easily and systematically take advantage of those unexpected situations. So if we jump back to our customer, Jamie, his appointments today, he's been sent a notification that his tech's on the way. And here he can actually consult that tech's ETA, kind of emphasizing John's point about having that Uber or Amazon-like experience. And so this increased visibility will drastically improve that customer experience, and of course, it's going to reduce any no-shows for the organization. Jamie's technician, when he's on site here, he's going to be able to use the mobile app where he can consult his work order details and track activities such as traveling and working time against this job. But let's say it's a more novice technician, maybe they need some help. He ran into some difficulty where he's not sure how to address the situation here. He's actually going to be able to use Vibe, which is a video assistance tool that's integrated directly into Praxedo. So he can launch a video call either to a specific person here, if he has one person in mind that he needs help from, or he can call a team or a group of experts based on the situation he's facing, and the first available can assist. So this will actually start a fully recorded session where we can take pictures, annotate photos, share documents. And so this tech can use this tool and the video and audio to show the roadblock that they're running into, show the expert the roadblock they're running into. This video session is going to be added to a repository where you can tag it with topics or keywords. So you're actually building a repository of information for future training. But it also is going to be tied directly to the work order in Praxedo. So anyone in the web or future technicians can reference that video recording. And this, of course, is going to help minimize any truck rolls, which can be costly. And so this is just one example of how a tech to an expert is going to increase that first time fix rate. But it could also be used for remote troubleshooting directly with customers and a CSR back in the office or a level 1 technician. And so now that this novice technician has been able to get the help they need, they can jump back into their Praxedo app and actually complete this report, which is tied to the work order type. So with a variety of different field types, it's easy to capture this data, and they can be guided through the job. They can know that they need to capture the geo coordinates, take photos, have drop-down lists to choose from. And they can even use speech to text to easily document or dictate what they're doing. You can even declare any parts or equipment installed. So if you're connected to an inventory management system, this is where you can update stock levels based on that field technician's consumption. In this technician, the items can be serialized or non-serialized, so they can even pull in a barcode scanner directly within the app to pull in that serial information. And he can call his billing system directly from the app to ensure that this equipment is correctly provisioned. And so we can send information such as the serial number back and return back those required values to ensure that everything is up and running without ever having to leave the Praxedo app. So Jamie, the customer, he can rest assured knowing that his technician came to the job fully prepared, he came on time, he had knowledge of the situation, he was able to consult an expert for remote help. He was able to install the equipment, ensure it's correctly up and running. And all this information allows Jamie to comfortably sign off, knowing that he was provided high quality service. And this, of course, is going to contribute to that improved metrics, such as increased take rate, and as John mentioned, a stronger revenue stream for the organization. So thank you so much. I'll go ahead and pass it back to Cedric for any additional comments you would like to add.
Thank you, Claire. You will have time in 2 minutes to ask any question you would like to ask Praxedo or John about what was presented. But as a closing remark, just a few words again regarding Praxedo. We are best of breed solution, 100% focused in field service management for the telecommunication industry. We provide solution like you've seen today to increase the productivity while boosting the customer satisfaction and maximize the return on investment. We're a turnkey solution. Everything that you've seen today is available in Praxedo. If you need the feature, you toggle it on. If you don't need it, you toggle it off. It's as simple as that. Although, like John said, we can work standalone because we are best of breed. We are an open solution with APIs to connect to any third-party system. And as a conclusion, as you can hear, I'm not from the Midwest, obviously, but although I live in Chicago, I have the pleasure to be working with a team of expert in FSM around me, but we are not alone. Praxedo has a global reach associated with its local presence. Our HQ is in France, and we've benefited from the experience of the European countries in deploying fiber that's built into our solution. But we also have offices in the US, in Canada, in Germany, UK, Spain, etc. That's all for us. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. And now, if you have any question, we're happy to answer them.
So it looks like we do have a couple of questions that came in. Do you want me to read those, or I mean, you can pull them up, but I guess I could read them out loud for the rest of the audience. And most of these are probably going to be directed to Cedric, since he is the resident expert. So if you're good with that, Cedric, the first one is, what happens if the customer wasn't home during the install? So we got a guy that goes out there, but the customer's supposed to be there, and they're not there. Happens all the time. How do we handle that?
So I think that's one of the benefits of Praxedo is maybe Claire during Claire's presentation, you've spotted that there was a conditional logic in the workflow that the technician follows in the mobile application. And so it's very easy, and anybody can do it. I can do it. I'm not a developer. John, you could be doing it. Just changing the workflow to include a step that is the customer home or not? And if the answer is yes, then you proceed with the current process. If the answer is no, then you have to explain. You can explain to your technician what are the next steps, and this specific work order can be closed. And then sent to a different workflow in Praxedo because it has been closed without facing the actual customer. So that can trigger a tailor-made notification to the customer saying, "Hey, sorry, we missed you. Maybe we understand that things like that happen. Do you want to book another appointment using that link?" Those kind of situation. That's another benefit of having Praxedo, is that you can keep the communication with the customer, even though you run into an issue while trying to install them. You're muted, John. Sorry.
Next question is, how do you manage delays associated with the permitting processes for a drop, specifically buried drops? And I would even add to that, how do you account for weather delays? Because, we're in that time of the year now where, and by the way, the snow has started now in Indiana, so it's moved down from Chicago. Oh, I had an install planned for today to bury a drop, but the weather changed and now I can't do that. Or, I've got a permit delay for whatever reason that's going to delay me. How does Praxedo handle those sort of delays on the install process?
So Claire, if you don't mind answering the question, I'll just introduce it by saying it has something to do with service orders and do before and do after dates.
Yeah, of course. So within the work orders in Praxedo, you have the ability to add time constraints based on information. So for example, if you have not received a permit in time, or if there's something that this job is contingent upon, you're able to add in due after dates to say, okay, well, we're expected to receive this, or this drop is expected to be completed on this date, which means the installation is to be performed on this day +1 or this day +2, whatever rule you maintain internally. You can use different pieces of information within the work order to account for those contingencies, such as permitting or drops to be completed. etc. So in that way you can have a linkage between your different steps, whether it be, okay, here's step number 1, step number 2 is to be performed 2 days after the completion of this first one. So you have ways to manage that process within Praxedo. And additionally, you can configure different views to say, okay, now that step 1 has been completed, here's the rest of my installations that need to be scheduled and performed within the next 3 days. So the ability to have the visibility and access into what is to be completed and have clear views on who's in charge of completing that task, I think is a major benefit that Praxedo can provide in that instance. I don't know if Cedric or John, if there's anything else you want to add to that too.
No, you're the expert on that, Claire. The next question we've got, and I'm not sure on this one. I think I know what it means to say, but I'm not sure. So I'm going to read the question, and then if I miss the base, whoever submitted the question, if you would maybe clarify. It says, what are the differences in the approach when Praxedo is working with an ISP versus a service provider? And in my mind, that's one and the same. I'm assuming maybe that you meant an ISP/service provider versus a contractor. And so let's answer that question. If that's not the correct question, they can follow that back up and perhaps clarify it a little bit more. So how do you treat a service provider differently than you would treat somebody that's just a subcontractor and they're only handling a portion of that fiber install?
So I think that's the beauty of Praxedo, is because Praxedo has been designed around the fiber installation process. I mean, the telecom installation process, because it works the same if you're installing wireless equipment or if you're installing even a cable. Because it's centered around not the type of company, but the type of work you're performing, it works the same, actually, and we have as many ISPs as we have contractors using Praxedo on a daily basis. It's really not a matter of type of company, it's really about the type of job you're doing. So if you're doing installation, network maintenance, troubleshooting tickets, you will get value out of Praxedo. The difference lies in the integration with the IT ecosystem, which is more complex for a contractor, because a contractor may have multiple customers. You can be working for several ISPs at the same time, so you will be getting orders coming in from multiple sources. Whereas when an ISP is leveraging Praxedo, there's typically a single source of truth for the orders coming in. So, but as for the software itself, it's almost the same process. And the flexibility, and again, Praxedo is flexible enough to support the variations that you need to you need to configure, you need to adjust to, depending on your situation. You're muted, John. Sorry.
I keep forgetting that. I haven't seen a follow-up, so I'm assuming that answered the question adequately. So I don't see any other questions popping up. I think, if you want to go ahead and wrap up, you want me to do it first, or you want to do it first, or however you want to do it.
I think we can just hand over to David, but I think I've talked already too much, so probably people are getting tired of my thick French accent.
Yeah. I think the only thing that I would conclude with is that even though Praxedo is a relatively new company in the U.S. market, it's not a new company from a standpoint of in the fiber market. I mean, you've got some pretty large customers in Europe, some pretty good sized customers in Canada. Now you're starting to move into the U.S. market. And look at both large, medium, and small ISPs. So it's a product that really bridges across multiple size companies, and I think that is something that is really good, because you can leverage those different size companies in making sure that the product is kind of hitting the mark for everybody. So, from that standpoint, you've got a good track record, you got a good history. I would encourage anybody that has run into any kind of problems, and having run a small telecommunications and broadband company and managed operations in multiple companies before that, I know this is a pain point for a lot of ISPs, if not most ISPs. And so consequently, I think it's one of those situations where I think it begs inspection. So hopefully the people that were on the webinar today will give it a look. We'll reach out to Cedric and have a look at it and maybe get a demo and see if it fits their business plan. Personally, I think there's probably very few companies out there that would not fit. So that's pretty much all I have to say in conclusion. I think it's a good product, and I think it's worth taking a look at. So.
And thank you, John, for that. Like you mentioned a key word that is very important to me is scalability. I think in the telecommunication industry, things can go so fast that you need to find a solution that will grow with your business instead of a solution that will be just right for where you are now, but will hold you back down the road. And a good example of that, the fact that Praxedo is scalable. We've signed an ISP in Utah about a year ago for 35 users, and now after a year of going live, they just passed their 120 users. So in a year, they're almost they more than tripled their user base, which means they've grown, and which means that Praxedo was one of the component of their growth, and one of the was supporting their growth journey. So that's what we're excited about, supporting our customers in their growth journey.
Just
David?
a quick question. Just a quick question, Cedric. What's the largest company that, if you can reveal that, what's the largest company that Praxedo is being used in currently?
Worldwide, it would be Orange, the largest telecom operator in Europe, and we have over 12,000 field technicians using the solution daily in France for Orange.
And then smallest would be down maybe just a handful of
The smallest would be five users, yeah.
okay.
And it's the same
So very
solution.
scalable from very small to very, very large.
Exactly, yeah.
All right. Well, anything else to add, Cedric or Claire?
I think we're good.
Well, first, I just want to thank all three of you for joining us today and sharing your expertise and experiences with our members here. And of course, I want to thank everybody who's joined us today as an attendee. A couple of things. We have several links for you in the chat. So the resources that you see on the screen right now, which are Praxedo's past webinars that we posted, I encourage you to check those out, and you can find the actual links to those in the chat. And the nice thing is you don't have to click on them now. If you hit the little ellipses next to up at the top of the chat, you'll see that these are pinned to the top. If you open that pin, you can actually download a text file that'll include all the links. They've also got we've also got a product tour in there and some other details, so definitely check that out. And with that, I've just got a couple of quick announcements before we go. First of all, we have Fiber Connect is open for business, Fiber Connect 2025. I know it seems like it's a long way away, but we do have that up on our website, and registration is open, so I encourage you to check that out. We'll be in Nashville once again this year, and that'll be June 1st through the 4th. And we've also identified our cities for our regional Fiber Connect workshops. We'll be in San Antonio, Philadelphia, Anchorage, Toronto, Spokane, Scottsdale, and Kansas City this year. So if you're in those areas and you want to join us for any of these regional Connect workshops, it's great. They're obviously smaller, more local, but always very worthwhile events. We look forward to seeing you there if you can make it to one of those. And lastly, I also want to just once again mention our Fiber Optic Path program. This is FBA's certification for fiber technicians. If you're interested in helping out with this program, we are looking for volunteers. Feel free to scan that QR code or go out to our website. We'd love to hear from you if you're interested in volunteering and helping us out with that. And of course, we do many more webinars. I encourage you to go out to our website, see what other webinars are coming up. And we also have Fiber for Breakfast, which is every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m., featuring Gary Bolton, our CEO and president here. And that's a 30-minute webinar series. So I encourage you to check those out as well. And with that, thank you once again to Praxedo and to John and Cedric and Claire. And thank you to all of you for attending today. We hope to see you on another one. Thanks.
Thanks, David.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.